It was supposed to be just another dinner for Alexander Hale, the youngest CEO in the city, known for his icy demeanor, perfect suits, and a heart sealed behind walls built of loss and betrayal. The table was set in one of the most expensive restaurants downtown, candlelight flickering softly against the glass, yet the air around him felt cold and heavy. He wasn't here for business tonight. His assistant had convinced him to go on a blind date arranged by an old family friend, a desperate attempt to bring warmth back into a life consumed by work and loneliness. But fate had a strange sense of humor, because tonight his so-called date was going to change everything he believed about love, wealth, and family. Before we dive into this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of unexpected love, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps spread hope to thousands. The rain had just stopped when she entered. A young waitress named Lila, hair slightly damp, shoes squeaking softly against the marble floor. She wasn't even supposed to be on shift that night. Her co-worker had fallen sick, and the manager had begged her to cover one last table before closing. Exhausted after a long double shift, she tied her apron tighter and approached the reservation marked Mr. Hale. Very important person. She had no idea that the man sitting there in a tailored charcoal suit, eyes sharp as winter glass, was not just any customer, but the man whose life was about to intertwine with hers in the most unexpected way. Lila forced a tired smile, standing by his table. "Good evening, sir. Would you like to start with something to drink?" Alexander looked up, clearly irritated. He thought she was his date. "You're late," he said coldly. She blinked, confused. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't—" Before she could finish, a soft giggle interrupted them. From beside Alexander, a little girl peeked out, no older than 6, her big brown eyes gleaming with mischief and innocence. She had been quietly doodling with crayons on a napkin. "Daddy," she whispered, tugging at his sleeve. "She's pretty." Lila froze. "Daddy!" This wasn't a business meeting, this was a family dinner. Alexander sighed. "Chloe, please, she's just the waitress." But Chloe wouldn't stop staring at Lila, her curiosity blooming into a smile that could melt the coldest heart. And when Lila smiled back, tired, kind, and genuine, something shifted quietly in the air. Lila wasn't like the people Alexander usually met. She didn't wear diamonds or designer heels. Her hands were rough from washing dishes, her eyes a little weary from juggling multiple jobs to pay off her mother's hospital bills. Yet, behind that fatigue, there was a light, a resilience that made her stand taller, speak softer, and serve with more grace than anyone else. As the dinner went on, Lila noticed that Alexander's date, whoever she was supposed to be, never showed up. He sat across from his daughter in silence, glancing occasionally at his watch, the way people do when they're used to being disappointed. Chloe kept asking questions, playful and innocent, but Alexander's replies were short and distracted. When Lila brought out dessert, a small scoop of vanilla ice cream with chocolate drizzle for Chloe, the little girl's face lit up. "It's my favorite," she squealed. Then she looked up at Lila and whispered, "Daddy never eats dessert. He says he's too busy being serious." Lila laughed softly. "Well, maybe tonight we can change that." Chloe grinned and looked at her father. "Daddy, try it! Just one bite. For me?" Alexander sighed, but when his daughter pouted, that same pout her late mother used to make, he gave in. One spoonful, then another, and for the first time in months, maybe years, a small smile touched his lips. That night, when Lila cleared their plates, Chloe looked up at her with those innocent, glittering eyes and asked the words that would change everything. "Daddy, can we keep her?" The restaurant went silent. Alexander froze. Lila blushed, caught between shock and confusion. Chloe beamed proudly, as if she'd just asked for a puppy. Alexander tried to laugh it off, but something deep inside him stirred, a question he hadn't let himself feel in years. Why did her words make him feel home? In the following weeks, fate seemed to play its part. Alexander began seeing Lila again. Not in expensive restaurants, but in small coffee shops where she worked mornings, or at the park where Chloe played. Each encounter felt accidental, yet strangely perfect. He discovered that Lila wasn't just kind, she was strong. She worked 3 jobs, took night classes in nursing, and still managed to smile at everyone she met. When he once asked why she never gave up, she said simply, "Because someone has to believe that better days are still worth fighting for." Those words echoed in Alexander's heart. He had everything: money, power, influence, yet none of it could fill the emptiness that had lived inside him since his wife's death. But Lila, with her simple kindness and quiet courage, began to heal what wealth never could. Chloe adored her. Every time Lila came by, Chloe's laughter filled the air. She called her Miss Lila and told everyone she was her best friend. Alexander noticed how Lila's presence softened even his hardest days. Soon dinners became warmer, laughter more frequent, and Alexander's once lonely mansion began to feel alive again. Still, he was hesitant. The world he lived in was cruel and judgmental. People whispered when they saw him talking to a waitress. His business partners mocked him behind his back. The great Alexander Hale falling for a girl who serves tables. He tried to distance himself, convincing himself it was for her own good. But the more he tried, the more it hurt. Because every time he saw Chloe's smile fade, or passed by the coffee shop, and saw Lila serving others with that same tired but genuine smile, he realized he was losing the very thing that made him human again. Then came the night everything changed. It was late, past midnight, when Alexander's phone rang. It was the hospital. There had been an accident. Lila's mother's condition had worsened, and she couldn't afford the surgery that could save her life. Without hesitation, Alexander drove straight to the hospital. He found Lila sitting alone in the hallway, head buried in her hands, tears streaming silently down her face. She didn't notice him at first, but when she did, her eyes widened in shock. "Mr. Hale, what are you doing here?" He didn't answer. Instead, he knelt beside her, his voice breaking the silence. "Let me help." She shook her head, crying harder. "No, I can't let you. I don't want your pity." "It's not pity," he whispered. "It's love." Those 3 words shattered the wall she had built. The next morning, Lila's mother was in surgery, paid for anonymously, though everyone knew who had done it. And for the first time, Lila allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone truly cared. Weeks passed. Her mother recovered, and Alexander and Lila grew closer, though still quiet about what they felt. One evening, at Chloe's request, they all went out to dinner, the same restaurant where they'd first met. The candles flickered again, the plates were set, and the same warm glow filled the room. Lila wore a simple dress this time, no apron, no exhaustion on her face, just a calm, radiant smile. Alexander couldn't take his eyes off her. Chloe giggled from her seat. "Daddy," she whispered again, "remember when I asked if we could keep her?" Alexander smiled. "Yes, sweetheart, I remember." Chloe leaned closer. "Can we now?" Lila's eyes shimmered with tears she tried to hide. Alexander reached across the table, taking her hand in his, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't care who was watching. "I think," he said softly, "we already have." Life didn't turn into a fairy tale overnight. There were still challenges, judgmental eyes, business meetings filled with gossip, and moments of doubt. But love, real love, isn't about perfection. It's about finding peace in someone's flaws and courage in their kindness. Lila eventually finished nursing school, with Alexander quietly supporting her behind the scenes. She didn't want luxury, she wanted purpose. She began volunteering at the children's hospital where Chloe often played piano for the young patients. And every time Alexander visited them, seeing his daughter's laughter fill the halls, watching Lila's gentle smile as she comforted others, he realized something profound. Wealth had never been the currency of happiness, love had. Months later, during a quiet sunset picnic in the park, Chloe ran ahead, chasing butterflies, while Alexander and Lila sat together on a blanket. The golden light bathed them in warmth, and for the first time, Alexander felt whole. He turned to her and said softly, "You know, I used to think I had everything. But then you walked in that night, drenched from the rain, smiling through exhaustion, and suddenly I realized what I'd been missing all along." Lila smiled, eyes glistening. "And what's that?" He looked at her hand, the one that had served thousands of strangers, and took it gently in his. Home. In that moment, Chloe came running back, clutching a daisy in her tiny hand. She placed it in Lila's lap and said with innocent pride, "See, Daddy? I told you we should keep her." Alexander laughed, tears filling his eyes as he pulled them both close. "Yes, sweetheart," he whispered, voice trembling, "and we always will." If this story touched your heart, if you believe that love can heal, that kindness can change lives, and that sometimes the smallest hearts see the biggest truths, please like,